Let It Brew podcast, brought to you by the London Coffee Festival, where we delve into our guest's dream coffee shop. The one rule is that it doesn't have to make financial sense. In fact, it doesn't need to make any sense at all. We just want to build the dream coffee shop. I'm Alex Dantes-Smith, and without further ado, please welcome today's guests, Paul from Special Guest Coffee and Maxwell from Colonna Coffee. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's really good to be here.
I agree. I'm glad you're here. It's nice to have you both. I think this is going to be really interesting because you both have coffee shops or are in the process of having coffee shops. I think some interesting answers ahead. So we're going to jump into the first question, which is, what would you name your coffee shop? Paul, I think you should go first.
What would I name my coffee shop is a good question. I like names that have a relation to both the space and what you do. Obviously, we've named our business after what we do, which is higher end coffees, and there are an element of special to that, or speciality. So it would depend on the location. And one of the things I'd love to have is a coffee shop on a corner. So you have two aspects, and you can see the sun and see the weather and see what's going on, what you intend to offer. So to start with, that is actually the harder thing. I think the name thing comes a lot later on. So maybe I'll answer that question later.
So it's inspired by the location itself?
The location or the offer or something unique about what that place does or means, because it has to be a name that only that place can have.
Right.
Otherwise, you can just drop and place that anywhere. And I think one of the great things about coffee shops is it's time and place, and all of those things together create a coffee shop. Otherwise, it could just be anywhere.
Yeah. So that's a good way of not answering in detail. Yeah, that's great.
My answer is far less serious. So I like to lift heavy things, and there's a very famous bodybuilder called Ronnie Coleman. And Ronnie Coleman, a lot of people say we're all lucky to be alive whilst Ronnie Coleman was alive. He's still alive, sorry. He's just not very well. Lifted too many heavy things. But he had a couple of catchphrases. One was, yeah, buddy. You sort of shout it. Yeah, buddy. Something like that. Or lightweight, baby. Obviously, we're in interesting positions in that we have coffee shops we're very serious about, and we spend hours and days and years painstakingly thinking about every detail and how we can offer a sophisticated experience. I'm approaching this podcast not with that mindset whatsoever. So that's why I'd go with the Ronnie Coleman quote for my podcast. You'll see a theme through some of my other decisions here as well that stem from that choice.
So, yeah, buddy. I mean, I would love to say I'm off to yeah, buddy. And then the response can be, yeah, buddy.
I quite like that as well, because even in the business now, we name some things that we can't. I talk about myself personally. It's like special guests. People normally miss the other S.
Yeah.
And yeah, buddy is something you
can't get it wrong.
Yeah. Is it with an A or not?
Alex said the name of my business wrong on the way in, right? On the intro.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's two N's. So it's Colonna.
Oh, yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah. It's fine.
It must happen every day, though. Right?
It's fine. It is fine.
Normally, I don't correct people.
I'm glad you corrected me on this. That's great, yeah.
So, yeah, I like Yeah, Buddy.
Yeah, buddy. You should change your company name to Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we could do that.
Okay, so we sort of have a name. We have one name. Where is this coffee shop going to be? Where's Yeah, buddy going to be?
So, you know how when you grow up somewhere, we all grew up somewhere.
We all did it, yeah.
And depending on your character type, I think you're either desperate to get away or you quite like it there. I'm at a stage in life where I'm looking back being like, it was all right. It's a very nice place to grow up. I grew up in the New Forest.
Okay, that is a nice place.
Yeah, for a lot of listeners who aren't familiar with it. It's a strange place. There's a guy who used to work for me, a guy called Mike. I realise in hindsight that he thinks I'm a bit strange because he moved to the New Forest. And he phoned me up after a couple of months and he said, I feel like you make sense to me now. Because he's been to live where I grew up. And it's strange because it's basically all the livestock can roam freely. So you'll see the New Forest ponies, not livestock. And you'll have donkeys and pigs and stuff. But it's a very beautiful place.
Okay.
There's no sort of cities or anything. So from a business point of view, dreadful idea.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of sticking it somewhere in the middle of the New Forest. And we'll get onto this later. I don't think I'd have many customers. And as long as I didn't have to make money, that'd be great.
You don't have to.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'd put it. Somewhere that was difficult to get to in the New Forest. Surrounded by ponies.
Sounds good. I like it.
Thanks.
Where would mine be? Mine would be actually the complete opposite. I love city coffee shops. I love going to new city, going to coffee shops, exploring the city through coffee shops. And I think I require that level of busyness in my mind and work that would need more people than that.
Do you have a specific street?
A specific street? I mean, London's my home. I feel like, there's financial element aside. I think that, a side street in London is a beautiful place. It's not got the main roads, but a few cars here and there, ideally pedestrianised, but, a constant flow of people that come and go throughout the day would be fantastic, yeah. Specific street, I don't know.
Have you got anyone else's coffee shop which you really like their location, which you'd like to steal from them?
One of my best memories in coffee was when I worked at Origin Coffee on Charlotte Road. It was in Shoreditch. Well, it still is in Shoreditch. It was a very quiet one-way road for London.
That's still accessible, right?
Yeah, they actually closed it once to film like a Hollywood film down there.
Right.
Which was amazing. And then you had your regulars, but then also lots of people live around there. There was a few people that worked in offices. Interesting people came and went all the time.
Constant flow of people through that place.
Yeah, and the worst thing that happened in our day was you made a flat white wrong and you had to make another one, and it was just a good time.
Simple days.
Taking over that lease then for your unnamed coffee shop.
I think I'm calling it Origin Coffee Roasters. When you ask those questions, that's what you think about, right? Where have you been and what you've done, and you're like, where do I feel most at ease at home? And that was one of those places where, it was just great.
It's interesting because the few days I've been here, I've been staying right next to that Origin location, and it's such a nice small place just to go to, and you know what you're going to get, and it's as good as it ever was, I think. And it's a great location, side street, like you said. It's just a nice place to go in the morning and have a quick coffee.
Yeah, that kind of vibe is definitely.
There's something nice about simple places, right?
Yeah.
Like the obviously, if you've got a concept, if you're a concept heavy coffee shop, you're sort of making a big song and dance about what you're doing. And although that can be interesting, putting stuff on a pedestal, it's never going to be that sort of comfortable place, is it? And those places are really nice.
Yeah, and the more I've worked in coffee, this is not to do with the question actually, so we're going to go on a tangent. But the more I've worked in a coffee, the more I admire people that have been at jobs for 20 or 30 years. Their whole job is one place. Then more now I look back and think, okay, why would they do that? It means that they love the place, it's getting paid fairly and all these things. And I think the same about coffee shops. Coffee shop that's been there 10 years means not only are they good once, but they've been good
consistently
3,000 days.
Yeah.
And when everyone goes in for their flat white, they have a good time, they have a 2-minute chat, and then they carry on with their lives. And it's a bit of a cliche thing to say, but they leave happier than they went in, even marginally, and then they do the same again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a big thing about these places, and we're lucky to have a few of them in London, where you can go for 10 years in a row.
Yeah, nice. Okay, we're going to move on to a difficult question for both of you.
That was very philosophical there, wasn't it?
It's great. I mean, there's no response to that, really.
We should just take some time to ponder what you
Shall we
just
do
said.
that? Yeah. Can we do some hold music or some elevator music or something just for a minute?
How long's the original shop been for you, Maxwell?
In Bath, 14 years.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree completely with what you're saying. There's a lot of people who are drawn to coffee who want something new all the time, including some of my staff, right? And they're only 6 months in. They're like, so I just want to, what are we going to do that's new? And I'm sort of like, okay, I think you need to rethink this whole thing, okay? There will be some new stuff that comes along that's interesting, but the way that I approach the shops is a bit more like Japanese culture, this idea that you would do something for a whole life, craft it every day, and you take pride in doing it well every single day, right? The people who come through the coffee shop learn about specialty coffee and move somewhere else. That's maybe not for them, but exactly what you're saying. I think this idea that you could do something to a really high standard day in, day out for a lifetime is actually something that people should aspire to do.
Yeah, and you have better and worse days, right? But ultimately...
And mate, every day I'm 100% incredible.
We'll ask the listeners of the podcast.
There's no need to go and look at the TripAdvisor reviews.
Yeah.
where I've lost my patience with certain customers.
It doesn't sound like that would happen, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about what's going to be in your dream coffee shop. This might be tricky for you both, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The coffees that you're serving, roasters, are you feeling drawn towards a particular roaster, or you can't nominate yourself, so you have to go outside? What are you going for?
Are we drawn to a particular roaster? I think firstly, I mean, aside from this, obviously we have roasteries, but it's important to acknowledge, and maybe even in my early career, that maybe there were some more definitive answers. But there's great roasters around the world.
Yeah.
There's great people doing great things, and as I said, it's one of the reasons I like going and traveling is going to these cafes and trying them, and importantly, experiencing how the roastery is intended to serve them. I think, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So my brewing style versus brewing someone else's coffee is not necessarily the best way to brew that coffee.
Okay.
And vice versa, right? So who would I use? It's a good question. I think that there's particular coffees in my mind that I would go to particular roasters for. So like one of the coffees I try and get hold of every year is Finca Takesi. And there's only certain roasters that roast that coffee. And one of them is Coffee Collective. And, you know,
it's a Bolivian coffee, right?
It is a Bolivian coffee. There's only so much of it in a year. And Coffee Collective always have it every year. Yeah. I think Monogram have it as well in Canada. But they always do a great job. It tastes great. I went to their roastery recently, and it's an amazing place.
It really is.
And the team were lovely. And yeah, that's one of the coffees that sticks out to me.
It's a great choice.
Yeah. And years gone by, like, I think it's important.
So you basically want to steal Origin's shop, and you'd like to figure out how to get Finca Takesi away from.
No, I'm
admit it.
I'd like to drink Coffee Collector's Finca Takesi.
Okay.
That's.
I think I won't go for a specific coffee. I'll go more with. So I used to have a multi-roaster cafe right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And there's pros and cons, right? You're sort of trying to offer a rotating menu. Sometimes you love coffee, sometimes you don't. And it's kind of natural, I think, for the obsessive types to want, like you said, I'm literally just writing a newsletter at the moment about how challenging it is to roast coffee to taste great as like a slow immersion versus a percolation. And so ultimately you make choices about how you're going to brew, which you roast to.
Right.
And so obviously in my shops, I often find that's how our coffee tastes best. Every now and then I'll go somewhere else and be like, oh, this tastes really good. And it doesn't taste like it did in the roastery. But also a lot of the time, you're like, oh, it just doesn't taste how I want it to taste. But so there's those downsides to being multi-roaster. But the exciting bit of it is you just get to connect with all these different people and businesses and their story. And I think now, compared to when I got into it, it's so easy to be a nano roaster now, to have like a little ILEO bullet or a Roest machine. And it's so much easier to get hold of these great coffees as well. Like before, someone needed to have built a supply chain. So it's much easier for people to get hold of good coffee and roast it well. And recently I've been tasting coffee from very small roasters. There's a guy called Mike, who's an academic who lived in Berlin, who's now out in the States about to open like an education centre. And he's just roasting on this little bullet machine. And he sent me the coffee and it was brilliant, you know. Right. And then some of the other roasters, we did a lot of tasting recently. I think it's always really good as a roaster to taste everyone else's coffee. But a couple that stood out to me were Dialect, was really, really good. And Picky Chemist was really good.
Okay. Yeah, so, I'd give it a +1 for Picky Chemist as well.
I've not tried.
But I think it's also a moving thing, right? Like you said, I've had my shop for 14 years and the industry's sort of moving and changing all the time. And I really appreciate and respect the roasters that have been doing a brilliant job for a long time, like Tim Wendelboe or Coffee Collective. Yeah. But yeah, so I think I'd be excited if I didn't roast my own coffee, to go back to the multi-roaster thing. Although I love the idea of a business that doesn't need to actually work. Because then I wouldn't have this issue with managing all those different stock and bringing it in.
Buy all of it, and you don't have to sell it fast because it doesn't matter.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I think
what a world that would be.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
There's a lot of great roasters out there, and I think those are a few of my picks, but by no means an exhaustive list at all. You obviously end up being kind of a bit Eurocentric or whatever, where it's easy to get coffee from. There's brilliant roasters all around.
Of course, yeah.
I also think outside of the UK, especially to an extent, even Europe is localized styles as well. And that gets very interesting, especially shipping coffee. It definitely has an effect on the coffee and all these things. So it gets super interesting to try lots of different ranges. But I think, not to speak to everyone in this room, but we're all quite fickle coffee people. We, as you say, jump around coffees, jump around roasters, and always in pursuit of what's out there.
It's the same at a farm level, right? Like, not just the roasters, but people jumping across, like, if a farm comes through with either competition-winning coffee or does an interesting processing method or something,
Yeah,
There's a lot of that looking for the new.
Yeah, and I mean, in some ways we do that too, right?
Well, it's like we had someone come into our shop in London the other day. I turned up afterwards, and they were like, someone came in and asked for like, what's the most funky coffee you have, and sort of explaining how if you had a spectrum from really clean wash to really funky, like a lot of people have been in coffee in a while, I err down towards clean, but this customer's fine. And then one of the members of staff said, we had someone in earlier who came in and was just like, this menu's boring. I was like, what? All these beautiful, carefully selected coffees, boring. So, it's interesting, right? There's a big focus on new and big flavors and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people who've been in it for a long time. I had this argument with someone the other day because they were like, a lot of people who've been in it for ages, they see that they're narrow-minded because they're focusing on like clean coffees. And like, be open-minded to this weird yeast co-ferment or whatever. And you're like, it's a funny thing to ask people to do, because anyone who's quality-driven, you're asking them to be particular, to be very specific about certain qualities. But then you also want to be able to do anything wild and be like, well, that's good, isn't it? Not really, it just tastes like soap. But
yeah.
But so this is the current debate point in coffee, which is interesting to see it all play out.
Points to a wider market. And on the soap thing, like coriander is a controversial flavor for some people. They're like, it tastes like soap. Some people love it. And like, you just don't have to be everything for everyone.
No, you don't.
And everyone, as you say, you become an expert in a thing, and
you refine your approach and your taste.
Yeah, and for some people, like you say, if someone says it's boring, you're like, okay, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's fine, right? Like that's.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The coffee exists on a spectrum, and we can get Arabica, Robusta. There's place for it all.
Yeah,
it's just
it's pretty pricey, that Robusta nowadays.
Well, all of it, all of it is becoming pricier. Yeah.
So what about a unique trait for your coffee shop? Something that it's known that's the coffee shop that does X. What would that be? For example, I use this example all the time. In the US, I went to a coffee shop that was a board game coffee shop.
Well, see, actually, we didn't get to it in the sort of sense of place, but mine will be in the New Forest with the ring of ponies around the outside. But I would also want to...
A ring of ponies?
Ring of ponies. Yeah. A bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger's kitchen, with the donkeys that he feeds every morning. They come in the kitchen. They do. Yeah. He lives a good life. So what I would do is I would have... my
that's not the top 10 things I know about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No. my crossover interests are strength sports. So I would love to have a space where it was like a great gym as well, probably with natural stones, because I like doing lifted stones as well.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's either called Yeah Buddy or Lightweight Baby.
Yep.
It's in the New Forest with a ring of ponies, and it's got boulders to lift and gym equipment, and an owner who only serves clean coffees and tells you to leave if you ask for anything else. So I feel like people would talk about that.
Big time. It's front page news. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Paul, what about you? Beat that.
I can only imagine the reviews in the local paper.
It's not boring.
I would actually go a completely different route. I'd love everything on taps. So, when you go into like a craft brewery, and they have like 16 boards of like different beers or whatever, and you say, half of number 14, please.
Half?
Yeah. Yeah. Not a big drinker these days. And I would love everything from like sodas, hot chocolate, cold milk, chocolate milk, everything on taps. So you can have like all these drinks that you get in a coffee shop, but everything's on a tap. And so you have more time to chat to people, and the taps are in the middle, this little island. Everyone gets served quickly, and
That's cool.
Are you doing this? Is this?
Yeah, I'm in.
I would love it.
I'll invest.
I'd love it. There's some logistics.
Some.
Yeah.
There's some plumbing there.
Yeah, I need 30 taps, please. But I think it'd be cool.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's actually quite possible.
Is this idea and the location swinging you back towards a name for it yet, or
Paul's Tap Room?
I think you just call it like taps.
Taps? Yeah.
The challenge, I think, would be how long the shelf life is of all the products, right? Because if you've got 30 taps, or
this is Dream, so shelf life is infinite.
I don't think he's talking about dreams. I think now.
Really
I think that'd be cool.
He's
doing it. Yeah.
There's lots of logistics to that, but I'd love to do it. Can you imagine just brewing up some sodas and then, I think
So there's coffee there as well, though, right?
But I think an important thing about a dream,
Your dream coffee shop.
There's one coffee at the end if you really want it. In terms of dreams, when you talk about dreams, it is important to sort of. It's a really dull thing to say, but have an attainable dream. It's important in order to be able to be motivated by a dream. It has to be in some ways attainable. Like if I wanted a dream coffee shop on the moon, I've never been to the moon. It's hard to picture that. Whereas I can picture this.
I've been low footfall.
Well, Elon might argue that is achievable.
There might be a few people, but I'm intrigued because that coffee tastes different in aeroplanes.
I just tend not to drink it on an airplane.
I wonder. Well, everything tastes different on airplanes, but I wonder what it tastes like in space.
I think.
So
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, yeah.
There's the space cap, isn't there? Did developed it or something?
Yeah.
To stop it just going everywhere.
I did see this. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine that a space food experience is a good thing.
I can't imagine it's.
I mean, the view's amazing.
Heston did it once, didn't he?
But did he now?
There was a TV.
Did he now?
There's a documentary about it.
That guy.
Who's the Tim
Peake?
Peake, and I think he ate Christmas dinner in space.
Yeah.
Was it all from a sachet?
What's the next question?
Yeah, sorry, this. I never thought I'd be chatting about this, to be honest.
Okay, dream coffee shop equipment. Some people on this podcast have steered away from naming names, but I feel like you guys are probably going to go the other way.
I just need 30 taps.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Preferably the ones that you can pull down.
Okay.
I have this thing against like electronic tabs.
So it's all coming out, isn't it?
It really is.
I hate touch screens. I hate touch screens.
I hate touch screens.
Because it doesn't feel like a button.
The only touch screen that actually works is a phone. In a car or anywhere else, they're just a pain.
Yeah, but also if you drop your phone,
button,
then they don't work.
Well, that's true, yeah. But you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, of course. But so 30 taps and everything's manual buttons.
Analog. I like it.
Yeah. Less to go wrong as well, I think.
Okay, sticking with the taps then.
Yeah.
Fine.
I think the more complex, the more things go wrong, and no one likes fixing machinery.
Anything.
Especially in dreams.
In dreams, yeah.
No one wakes up and is like, I'll fix loads of machines.
That's an anxiety dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true.
It's just I can't fix it. I have anxiety dreams about making people coffee, honestly.
Really?
I just can't make it. They're just waiting. A half hour goes by. I just can't get it finished.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I've had that dream a few times.
Wow, okay.
We're looking at different dreams here. Positive ones.
It's meant to be more lighthearted.
It's probably my only serious answer.
Okay.
I'd probably have some form of roller grinder in the corner. They're very big and expensive, like a water-cooled roller grinder. And I don't really mind what happens after that. I don't really want to serve people milk, so I would probably just have some of those little lovely manual lever machines.
Yep.
It was fun for me, but consistency's out the window.
I
said it was a serious answer. It's
It quickly changed.
In my mind, you've gone all this way to the New Forest, battled past the ring of ponies to get to the shop. You've got to walk past the roller grinder that's absolutely massive and making loads of noise. And you're like, oh, can I have a flat white, please? No. And actually, if you disagree with me, you can leave.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're like, what do you expect? You read about all the reviews.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that, I think. Yeah. There were coffee shops like this when I got into coffee, where essentially you walk into a space, which is some coffee people messing around. And really, there's no interest in producing a consistent product for the customer whatsoever.
Right, they're just having fun.
But back then, I'm being very annoyed by it. And now, in my dream, I'm like, oh, actually, maybe that's what I want to be.
I want to aspire to be the annoying person, actually.
Oh, dear. Okay, we're going to move on from equipment then. Let's talk about food in the cafe. Specialist food item. What are you going to serve? I think for you, Paul, it's soup because it can come out of a tap.
I don't know. I have this idea or like this thing in my mind where I like the idea of you go into a coffee shop and get coffee, and then you go into the bakery and get bread, and then you go. And so there's a part of me that just thinks we just serve coffee.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. No food. Your specialist food item is no food.
Yeah. Just be good at the taps.
Turning them on and off, analog style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not mad on the food front either. The sourdough bread, just there with some olive oil and salt. Maybe I could do that.
Oh, in Copenhagen, the the bread and cheese was a real game changer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bread and cheese.
Got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah. Good for ticket price as well.
You can't. It's not.
In my dream, I want to make a lot of money
Yeah. Okay.
as well.
Yeah. Charge the
So
horses.
I'm-
Charge the horses to come in.
You've set yourself up for failure already. Yeah.
The roller grinders just cash it in.
If in my dream, this can all happen.
Yeah. I
Right?
feel like you have to be a ninja warrior to get into the culture. Okay. Is there a particular coffee that you would refuse to have on the menu?
Refuse.
Yeah. Like, do you know what? Not interested.
He's got a good
in that.
excuse. He's like, I can't put it through a tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Sorry.
is true. Yeah.
Refuse. I mean, the idea of a dream is you choose what you want rather than what you're refusing, right?
Yeah, but when you look at like the classic coffee shop menu, is there
Oh,
something
as in
that
like.
you're like, do you know what?
I thought you meant like. Let's name some names.
No, as in, like cold brew.
Cold
No,
brew.
not happening.
No, that can go for a tap if you want.
Alex won't be coming.
I will not be coming. No, I never living that down. Put my opinions on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly allergic to coconut, so coconut milk. You get a lot of requests for that, and I think that's
Not a common order though. Can I
not-
have a
it's not-
coconut milk, please?
no, but that's pretty hard.
You don't have like a coffee order that's like that annoys me.
No, because I'm of the firm belief that if someone wants to drink it the way we want to drink it, cool.
Fine,
If that's how you enjoy it,
fair
then
enough.
Go
Yeah,
for it.
I'm alright with that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And also, if it can come out of a tap,
yeah. I mean, like,
Play a game.
yeah, there are some limits between like can have a pint of milk and you like no,
no,
I just don't.
hard pass.
Well, I just don't have pint glasses. Like, it's only half pints in life. You can have two half. You can actually have 2 half pints. Fine.
Okay, Max, what about you?
I feel like if I'm carrying on with my theme, my dream, it's a highly restrictive space.
Okay.
Where there's a lot I won't let people have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there'd be no milk whatsoever. So no steamed milk drinks, just black coffee.
Okay.
Can you get filter and espresso?
You can, no batch brew, hate batch brew. Everyone's like, but it can be good. I'm like, can we go around and do a survey and see how often it's actually good?
I've chosen to go no batch brew.
So there'd be no batch brew. But there'd be a nice range of strengths. I'd have, I'm a lungo lover, so you'd have a wide range of strengths of black coffee, and that's it. And then nothing else. Like all the other drinks are just annoying.
Yeah.
Like tea and everything.
Tea. Well, we're not interested in tea.
Yeah.
Can you put
Soft
tea on a tap?
drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't. But
So I think I just say no to most things, really. Just as a
Coffee
basic.
two ways.
It's quicker just to say things you say yes to, right?
Yeah, exactly. When they say, "What can I have?" You say, "It's these, it's this," and there you go.
all right. Great. Last question. We've built some pretty interesting coffee shops here, but now it exists. You're sitting in there. What's the soundtrack? What song are you listening to in there?
Soundtrack. This is like my least favourite thing to do is come up with
You're
playlists.
This is the worst question.
Sorry, next. I don't know.
You can go genre.
When I read the question, I read it like there's a moment. You know how songs have moments. So for me, I'd be sitting there. There'd be maybe a few customers who got past the
If you're
ponies.
lucky.
Yeah, exactly. But they're people I want to be there.
Right.
And we're sat there, and then I'm probably tasting. What am I tasting? Probably, I just like very good washed geisha. So I've gone through the freezer selection of washed geishas, picked the one I feel like the most.
Okay.
I want to enjoy that day, and I sit down, and then it's that specific point. It's not as hot as today either, by the way. I'm not very good with heat, so maybe like 21 degrees.
Yeah, you can control the temperature in your dream coffee shop. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh yeah, okay. Definitely not over 25 degrees at any
Fine,
point.
yeah. And then playing over the speaker system is the Meatloaf song. I don't even know what the exact title is. It's the "I Would Do Anything, But I Won't Do That."
Yeah, that's the title.
Is that the title? And then there's the.
I would do that in brackets. It's in brackets.
What's the title of this song, guys?
No, I always wonder if it's like an abbreviated title. And then there's that specific bit. It's not even when Meatloaf sings. It's when the lady sings. And
Okay.
her name's Lorraine something.
Could be.
There's a bit where she goes, "Would you hose me down with holy water if I get too hot?"
Okay.
That bit. And right then I'd be like, yeah, life's pretty good.
Okay. I was sure you were going to say it's that song, but with the vocals overdubbed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, that would be good.
Wouldn't that be good?
That would be good.
Yeah. I actually think I know my answer now.
Okay.
A better answer.
Go on then.
I mean, I like running, and Spotify have this thing that you can match your BPM when
nice.
you're running
very
a
cool.
playlist.
Yeah.
So what I'd actually it's not a song per se that I'm going to choose, but it's a playlist that you do that and it just matches the sort of room,
Very good.
the thing in the
The
room.
heartbeat of all the people in the room.
Yeah.
Right, look, everyone,
in your case,
all
just you.
Could it match the flow rate of the taps?
I think just the overall like ambience. It
Nice.
just needs to, use some AI program to.
Yeah, so as the shop gets busier, maybe the tempo picks up.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that idea. I like
It's
what you've
an
done, yeah.
algorithmic approach.
Yeah,
I like it.
After saying I want everything manual, bring in loads of tech.
Right.
Yeah, nothing could go wrong.
I love it. Okay, well, these are pretty interesting dream coffee shops. I'm really looking forward to seeing if anyone.
If only this shop existed here.
This has been great fun. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. You've been listening to the Let It Brew podcast brought to you by the London Coffee Festival with me, Alex Dantes-Smith, and we'll see you on the next one.